Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Shall we start the session? Yesterday's topic is the part number 2. Same topic. Yeah, same chapter with a new topic, that is the project logic model. In the last class, we have started with the project part number 2, that is the project planning and the implementation. That is how to plan for the project and how to implement them. So that is the project planning and the implementation. First is the introduction. That is, once a need for a project is understood and the authorization to the proceed is secure. So once a need is secure, once the project is understood and the authorization we have done, then the planning team faces the task of designing a specific education project that addresses that need. So what is the main requirement of this one? Why we are addressing for the project planning, what attention that is required, and what are the various procedure that might be taken out that seems like unusable details. So while always keeping the big picture in the mind, and in the end, effort spent in planning an education effort, a project that is also used for the ultimate effectiveness. And this portion of the manual has been developed to help the coordinators to anticipate what are the various concept, what are the various detail that is defining the project desired outcomes, and how what we hope with the participant that will learn. That is the project planning and the implementation. Then we will discuss about the planning and implementing, how to plan and implement. The main thing is that must be within the time bound. So the time involved in planning an education project usually depends on the project complexity and the number of the stakeholders involved. So what are the various stakeholders that is involved in this one? This depends on the number of the stakeholders, and the following steps of the planning and the implementing an education project also breaks down a complex process into the manageable steps. So what are the various manageable steps? What are the various major sections that is divided in this document that recognizes much of the detail that has been left out? And the 12 copies simply provides a generalized overview. For example, there is a need to establish a budget and the schedule are only the briefly mentioned. That is obviously each require considerable effort to develop. What are the various considerable effort that is used or that is developed over here? And at each step, each and every phase, determining how the process should be undertaken, that depends on the nature of the project. And there is a project that also involves the development of the material for the others to use that will be very difficult from one that involves training individual to make the presentations. So what are the various training individuals that are used to make the presentations to the civic groups or teach the school children? Then these are the various stages in this project planning and implementation process. When we have studied, we can say around 3 steps in the last class. That is, first one is the assess needs and the capability. What are the various needs? What are the various capabilities? Assessing the need and the capability, that is the project planning and the implementation process. Then step number 2 is establish the project planning team. So whatever the project planning team criteria, that is establishing the project planning team. Then develop the project goals and the objective. What are the various project goals and the objectives? Then develop a logic model. So these are the, yes, these 3 steps we have finished in the last class. So how to assess the need and the capability? So first target is to assess what is the requirement and what is the capability of the person that is requiring or that is handling the project planning. Then establish the project planning team. So get together multiple persons that have a capabilities, that have a good planning team. So that is done by the good planning or project planning team. Then develop the project goals and the objective. What are the various project goals and the objective over here? Then develop a logic model for the project planning and the implementation. Select and characterize the audience. So what are the various audience that is selected out, that have been selected, and characterize the audience. Then establish a program format and delivery system. What are the various program format that is developed, and what are the various delivery system that is used for the program format. Then 7 is quality instruction staff, then quality instruction material and the strategies, then assemble the material, resources and the facilities, then emergencies, promote, demote, and implement the project. So these are the 7 steps. We are finished with 3. Assessing the agency need and the capability, that is used with the CASA, that is used with the top model, that is the targeting outcome of the program model, that is used with the social, economic, and the environmental conditions. and that is also used with the knowledge, attitude, skills, and the aspiration that also informs about the practice. And with the need assessment recommendation in the hand, project managers will also revisit the issues to determine if the project proposed is consistent with the mission and the priorities, and the need may have a high priority. However, it is quite possible that that is not appropriate organization that is used to tackle out. A need assessment team can also use existing project that is based on a tentative understanding of the issue that is being analyzed with the area of the potential duplication. That also includes what are the various project streams, what are the various person that is involved in the project planning teams, that is specific experts, specific issues that is used with the experience designing instructional activity that may be needed. And with the need assessment planning teams, role and expectations must be delineated. And to ensure that the evaluation is considered at every step in the project design and implementation process, there's an education coordinator that should also form the evaluation planning team now. Then next is developing the project goals and the objectives that is used with the Costa training program. Then we have studied about the logic model. That logic model includes, this is after the 3 steps, that is developing a project planning team, setting the target, assessing the capabilities. The next one is once the team members have been agreed, that is they are in a position to draft, or we can say prepare the project. So this stage includes developing a logic model. With the development of the project logic model, that provided the framework by which the objectives or the targets were specified. What are the various objective and the target? And the logic model will also convey the details that is needed to carry out the program. Logic model will also serve as a guide for the evaluation. So what is a logic model? That will also serve as the evaluation. What is the evaluation criteria for the logic models? That is also used for linking how the project will work, link the project outcome, that may be a short term, intermediate, and the long term. That includes one of the objective, that name of the objective is a SMART. That is specific, measurable, audience, then relevant, and the time bound. So these are the 5 points of the SMART: specific, measurable, audience, relevant, and the time bound. That is use the project output and the input. And logic models also provides a roadmap that also shows that how it is relevant with the program output, how it will define with the time frames. That is time boundation is very important in the time. For example, there is a 6 months that is participating in the ordinary high mark class. That is after the conclusion of the workshop, 3 months after receiving the materials. So why there is a usage of the logical model, why there is a requirement? So that first is a background design of the overall project. And by first determining the ultimate or the desired long-term, intermediate, or the short-term outcomes, that is based on the need assessment, the planning team is in a position to determine what are the various outcomes that it is determined over here, why it is developed, why it is in a better position to identify the appropriate project activities, resource needs, and the time frames. This is the diagram that is used for the project evaluation, that is known as the project logic model. So first is inputs. Input is what we invest, that is what we give, that is the input. Output, activities, what we do. Participant, who we reach. So one is what we invest, that is the input. What we do is the activities, what are the various activities that we perform. Then participant, that is who we reach. So who are the people that is involved in this output coming. Then short-term outcomes, that includes the knowledge, attitude, skills, and the aspirations. Outcome in the sense, what are the various knowledge, what are the various attitude, what are the various skills, and the aspiration that is defined in the project. Then the intermediate outcomes in the sense, practice and the behaviors. Then long-term outcomes, that is social, economic, and the environmental conditions. So this is a project logic model that is developed for the project development, that is also used for the project evaluation. So there's this line that is from the input to the output, that is a project evaluation, and then long-term outcome to the input, that then we go, that is known as a project or the program development. Next is how logical is a program, that is how bound is a program, how logical is a program that is used for the educational backgrounds. So the main purpose of the program logic is to ensure that no important steps are skipped when planning a program, and some agencies have been we can say marked for many years for the proficiency in their use, as we should be proficient, but we often use a logic model to rationalize it and then plan a program. And one educator who uses the logic model also describes the process as taking a look at the component of your program. That may be a resources, that may be a procedure, that may be outcome, that may be an audience. And also seeking out how it is well organized or how it is well developed. And another point says that how it is going to visualize the process, that is something tangible. That tangible in the sense we can touch the component, that is the hardware components. So one is a software and one is a hardware. Software components, yes, software component that includes a logic over here. This is it is something tangible that you can see. And the process of taking out the logic, process of making or thinking everything, that is known as the logic of the model. So when you talk about the logic, that is simply that what we heard, what we listen, and how we behave over here. That is the new ideas, help clarify and crystal thinking. The next one is a hazards weather awareness week, that is HWAV, that also strives to promote the hazard weather preparation across the state. That programs that encourage the youth and the adult to develop emergency plan, restock the emergency supplies, purchase plan out procedure, radio, and to act safely. What are the various threatening weather the approaches that community, and these are the various outcomes. These are the various inputs outcome that is used with these conditions. So outcomes is improve the quality of the hazardness, whether it is prepared and responses. So one is a long-term outcome. So let's begin with the first one, that is a long-term outcome. So this describes the intended ultimate impact of the project on the issues. What are the various long-term impact that is available in the project issues, that might be a social, economic, or environmental conditions, and these consequences are expected to occur after a certain level of the behavior changes. So if there is any change in the behavior that occurs, that may be a social change, that may be economic change, that may be environmental change, but that have a certain number of the behavior changes that have been made. That is a long-term outcome. The intermediate outcome that describes the expected impact, that means whatever the expected output that we have generated, but that depends on the audience behavior because of the project, and what behavior changes are individual expected to make because of the project. What are the various outcomes that tend to occur after there has been earlier change of the knowledge, attitude, skill, or aspirations. That is the intermediate outcome. So one is a long term, then intermediate, then next one is a short term outcome. So this describes the expected intermediate or immediate impact of the projects, that may include the audience reactions and the changing in the um, attitude, skills, or the aspiration that immediately following the participation in the project. So one is the long-term outcomes, then intermediate outcomes, then short-term outcomes. Next one is the output that describes the event, activities, product, and services that reach people targeted by each project. So what are the people that is targeted with each project, that must be developed with the target peoples, that must be used with the target people, that is output. So this describes the activities, events, product, and services that reach the people that is targeted by the project. The next one is input. So this lists the time, money, human resources, office space, utilities, equipment, supplies, management, and the partner support. So whatever the office space, utilities, equipment, and the partner support that is needed to accomplish the project. Whatever the project, whatever the supplies, whatever the management project procedure that is used, that is inputting, whatever the input resources. So these are the five procedures, these are the five that is used with hazard report. One is the long-term outcome, then the intermediate outcome, short-term outcomes, outputs and the inputs. Then step number 5 is select and characterize the audience. So then task step number 5 is we have to select and characterize the audience. That means we have divide the audience into the multiple categories. So each audience is distinct because every audience have a different background, different scenario. So that is unique. Not only do the audience vary in the terms of the background and the cultural characteristics, there is the personal experience, prior knowledge, but they also vary in times of the age and the developmental level. And the participants also vary in their motivations for learning depending on how they experiencing, how they use, how they vary with their mental level, how they vary with their formal classrooms, family of the outing, that is the family background or the employee satisfaction. And each of these factors is important to consider in determining what particular audience should be targeted. So what is the main target of the audience? Why they are why we are choosing that audience, that particular audience only. So most of the education research program are targeted either to the school or the community group. There are multiple audience also that is used for the potential audience for the programs, and the decisions about who are the audience that is based in on the need assessment and the part of the agency. So that focus we call on the intact group. That is basically a group, social group that we include other youth also, that may be a boys and the girls club, church group, community group, service, professional and the interest group. And whatever the mistake that is made by many managers and the staff during development is to forget that the program is really for audience and not for the agency. And there are plenty of the examples of the program that were created for the small groups or school groups. Then when budgets got the tight, the school groups no longer made the trip to the site. And for many of the programs, school groups as an appropriate target audience, but the real audience is the teacher, not the student. And some education coordinators have looked for the new and the different audience in order to broaden the reach of their agency or the division, and some have targeted the intact group in different neighborhoods, while others have created the partnerships with agencies and the organization that directly serves the audience and they're trying to reach whatever the audience that serves. They are trying to reach with the organizations with the audience analysis. And regardless of the program, the most difficult educational efforts are those where the agency missions also drive the education program, but that is used with the important audience analysis that meets the need of the target audience. And ultimately, the project planning team will need to examine the stated outcomes and also weigh them. That is, give the priority, give the weightage against the feasibility of reaching the particular audience effectively. And even though the audience was analyzed as a part of the need assessment, that may be necessary to conduct a specific targeted audience that is used with the project team, that is used with the targeted audience. And when we say about the audience assessment, that also decides with the planning team, that decides how specific will be used, how specific organization can be customized to meet the participant interest and the learning styles. Now, what are the various issues? Next part is what are the various issues that must be addressed in the audience analysis or the audience assessment. So first one is the knowledge and the interest, because every audience have a different knowledge, different background and the different interest. So how much do they about the topic or the issue? Are they familiar with the terminology or the basic concepts? How interested are they in the topic or the issue? To what extent are they interested in learning about the topic? First one is how much do they know about the topic, how familiar they are, how interested they are in the topic or the issue. So every culture have a share of the set of the meaning and the beliefs, and that differentiate itself from others by the approaches, whatever the approach that is used with the interpersonal and the intergroup relations, time, nature, culture, that is falls in the category against the spectrum. For example, when you talk about the interpersonal relationship, that includes yes, that includes 5 points. That is a universal, particular, individual, collectiveness, neutral, emotional, specific, diffuse, achievement, ascription. So what are the importance of the rules, codes, and the laws that is also used with exceptions, special circumstances, personal relationships. Then individuals, that is what are the various importance of the individuals and the freedom on the personal freedom versus the importance of the group and the cooperative staffs. The neutral versus the emotional, specific versus the diffuse, then achievement versus the ascription. Then first one is attitude about the time. That is this is for the time bound, that is sequential or the synchronic. So whether the time is considered as a sequence passing in a straight line or more as a moving in a circle, and what are the standards of the punctuality that can range from a minute to a day or the more. Then attitude with the natural environment, whether the word is considered as a more powerful than the individual or the individual is the source of the virtue. So this is the first part, that is the knowledge and the interest. Next part is prior educational experiences. So we have to check whether they have participated, that the audience have participated in other educational activity related to the issue or not. Then next one is extrinsic and the intrinsic motivation. So why would they have want to learn about the topic or the issues? Then attitude and the preconceptions. What are their basic attitude towards the issues? Their education. What are the various constraints that is related to attending the educational activity? And when is the audience able to attend an educational event? Do they really need the necessary transportation available to travel to a particular site? Then the cultural characteristics, what are the various constraint that is related to attending an education activity? So when is the audience able to attend an educational event? What is the main criteria to attend that? Do they necessary or that is mandatory for the site to travel for a particular site? And what are the various audience attitude towards the nature, society, learning, and other values relevant to the project? That's the cultural characteristics. Now this is one of the important criteria that is used for the analyzing of the audience. What are their audience attitude towards the nature, society, learning, and other values? And answer to each of these questions will impact the design of the education project and its budget. That is step number 5, analyzing the or select and characterize the audience. Who are the audience? What they are going to do? Then step number 6 is establish the program format and delivery time. What are the various program format that is established? What are the various delivery time? So give the range of the alternatives available. The planning team must determine what type of education activity best meets the need of the audience. What are the various audience analysis? What are the various addressing that is used with the ultimate outcomes, budget, schedule? That is what type of activities are the more important. What type of activity that were more relevant? That may be a workshop, that may be a demonstration area, that may be a community forum, field day course, guest speakers, and so on. And keeping in mind that what are the various need assessment that can also provide information regarding the types of the delivery system that your audience will accept and respond to, and what are the content that they are interested in. For example, when we talk about the need assessment that is conducted by the North Carolina Sea Grant of the teaching needs, that also revealed the topic. These teachers were more interested in learning about what are the various barriers to teaching ocean literacy principles, what are the various kinds of the training and the material teacher that also prefers with the professional development opportunities. And then decision concerning the project outcomes and the target audience along with the budget and the time constraint is one of the feasible solutions for the planning teams. The next step is step number 7, that ensures a quality instruction staff. So no matter what the ultimate format, that may be a course, what is the field day or the workshop, or the length of the time, that may be a 1 hour, that may be 1 week or the 2 years, someone that may be a staff members or the volunteer that will also need to deliver the educational content through some form of the instruction. There are some form of instruction that is delivered with the with the instructional staff, and the efficiency of the project depends on the instructional staff and their abilities. What are their abilities that is used by the instructional staff, and along although with the educational material or the activity guide that also gives the instructions directions. Teaching also requires a skill and the conscious efforts. And the instructors also needs a preparation, and at a minimum time they will also require the training to how to deliver the specific activities to the specific audience, how they're relevant, how to deliver, and how to make the specific audience with the specific activities. That also ensure the quality instruction staff at a minimum to deliver the specific activities. Then how to do with the staff the program. So what are the various outcomes for staffing the program? So it is best of all the possible problems that what happens if your program is success. So in a new program, a program was not successful and the popular that is demanding or that demands quickly grew beyond the ability of the staff that is used to provide the access to all the groups that wants to participate. So whatever the group that is used to participate over here. And making the good staffing decision is a part of the reason for doing a need assessment. And one educator commented that through asking the potential audience about the demand for a program, we know that it is a popular, and that is why we are limited our promotions of the program. That is guaranteed with the conducted correctly, and all these are staffing decisions that need to be considered in the planning and the implementation. And many of the educators learned is that the amount of time needed for the program that must also include the presentation and the follow-up, and that couple of the typical things are important. That is, we did it, build in the time bound to gather up the material before such programs or before each programs that is used for the careful evaluations. Because the main thing is that we don't know how much time it would take to complete the process. And again, that not all the programs are very much equal. Why? Because different programs have different amount of the time and the declarations or dedication. So for example, one lesson or the one program may take different time bound, another may take different time bound. So the training and the oversight are very important and should be built into the programs. And that also suggested by the people who are taking out with the educators to consider the knowledge of the audience when making the decisions about the staff time. And this also ensure about the quality instruction staff that turns out to be more complex than it appears. So the amount and the time required, so whatever the amount that is time that is required, if that is not enough, so we have to expend the time on the training instructional. That depends on the educational activity. On the other hand, if the individuals are involved in a long-term educational activity, so the project planning team may wish to consider a most or the more extensive professional development program that also includes the appropriate education theory. What are the various development program that is included with the appropriate education theory, instruction practices, and the use of different instructional settings. So what are the various professional development program? What are the various appropriate education theories?